Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University.
Or do you want to do it?
Go ahead.
Time is 10 a.m.
Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Sandy, and I'm here with Dennis. We invite you to listen to our broadcast both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday through Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access the on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and the information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU radio. All broadcasts are played over the KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.9 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.
Our first story is from the Springfield Daily Citizen. Headline, Shooting in Mercy Parking Garage Leaves 2 Dead. Police believe it was a murder-suicide. Springfield police say 2 people are dead in a murder-suicide early Thursday morning in a parking garage on the east side of Mercy Hospital's campus. Springfield Police Department spokesman Chris Swatters said there is no ongoing threat to the public. A media release says officers responded to the report of shots fired at around 4:50 a.m. and located a deceased man, 60-year-old Russell Ecton, in the parking garage, and an injured woman, 59-year-old Jacqueline Ecton, who was transported to the hospital where she died. The Springfield Police Department Homicide Unit is conducting the investigation and has determined that the suspect, Russell, shot and killed the victim, Jacqueline. Russell then died from self-inflicted gunshot wound. Both Russell and Jacqueline were from Springfield. Their families have been notified. A spokesperson for Mercy Springfield said hospital operations are continuing as normal. In a statement, the hospital indicated that the victim is a Mercy employee. Here is the full statement. We were shocked and saddened to learn of the tragic event on our campus early this morning involving one of our caregivers. We are actively working with Springfield Police to assist in their investigation and are unable to provide more information at this time. Police have assured us that this is not an ongoing threat. The safety of our patients, visitors, and caregivers is our highest priority. This is a difficult time for our team members, and we are providing additional support from our spiritual care team. For those who are visiting the hospital, please be mindful of this tragic event as our caregivers are grieving. Any questions about the incident should be directed to law enforcement as they continue their investigation. Detectives continue to investigate and are asking anyone who has information about the incident to contact the Springfield Police Department or make an anonymous call to Crime Stoppers. This incident is Springfield's 7th homicide investigation for 2026.
Police write 9 tickets to 8 pedestrians for crosswalk violations on North Glenstone. Springfield Police Department says it is stepping up enforcement after 6 pedestrians were killed in the first half of this year. On July 1st, the Springfield Police Department conducted extra crosswalk enforcement at the high intensity advocated crosswalk. It's called HOC on North Glenstone Avenue. HOC is the technical term for crosswalks with lights that pedestrians are able to activate via button. The enforcement was in response to 6 pedestrian deaths in the city so far this year. Part of the Safer Streets SGF campaign, which started in 2023, it was intended to improve both pedestrian and driver compliance with traffic laws, as well as increase awareness of Missouri's hands-free driving law, according to the press release sent out by SPD. Officers enforce laws regarding unsafe pedestrian behavior, including illegal mid-block crossing outside the designated pedestrian facilities, walking in the roadway where sidewalks are available, and crossing diagonally instead of using the shortest legal crossing route. The traffic unit educated through enforcement, both drivers and pedestrians displaying unsafe or illegal behaviors. Public affairs officers, the SPD spokesperson, Chris Swatters, said throughout the 2 hour enforcement period, 9 citations were given, 8 to pedestrians and 1 to a driver. In addition, 22 pedestrians safely crossed the street utilizing the hawk signal. Officers always have direct discretion at the traffic stops when it comes to citations or formal warning. The Glenstone signal was chosen because of large amounts of traffic that goes through the area to various businesses, as well as because of the hawk signal in the location. According to the SPD, further traffic operations are being planned for the remainder of 2026. Best practices, according to the SPD, will always be to use the crosswalk or hawk signals when available. When not available, pedestrians should take the shortest possible route at a 90-degree, not diagonally. Swatters also recommended pedestrians try to make eye contact with drivers. More information on pedestrian safety can be found via SGF Yields, a nationally recognized pedestrian safety campaign founded in 2017 by Springfield Public Works in tandem with SPD. The story was by Brian Schmoot.
Next, from the Daily Citizen, headline, after hearing bleak Jeff City report, SPS board to continue pushing legislative advocacy. After a legislative session that saw the state underfund public schools and increase funding for private ones, the Springfield Board of Education plans to keep up its increased legislative advocacy. Board members heard a legislative update during their June 23 meeting from lobbyist Jason Samkus during a meeting in which both board members and employees blamed state funding as a reason for lighter raises. Board members also voiced concerns about state political pressures that affect Springfield Public Schools. Without a vote, board members expressed a consensus to further increase legislative efforts. The goal is to educate and influence lawmakers about how SPS is affected by the policy set in Jefferson City. Board President Judy Brunner, at the beginning of her comments during the meeting, said it was inherent on the board to aggressively get involved in legislative advocacy. Near the end of the discussion, though, she wanted to change that word. What I should have said was passionate. Everyone at this table is very passionate about public education, what it provides, and what it does for the country and our democracy. We want to do all we can to get out there and tell the story of not only what's going on in Springfield Public Schools, but to share the message of what public schools have done for us. Superintendent Grenita Lathan proposed preparing for the 2027 legislative session by repeating what the district did in 2026. That includes a December session reviewing pre-filed bills with Samkus, listing legislative priorities, and hosting visiting sessions with lawmakers. Lathan also expressed interest in getting each board member to Jefferson City during the session and exploring how to get board members to testify in favor or in opposition to bills. In his report, Samkus said that state lawmakers were more productive than in past years, with increases in the number of filed bills and in bills that were sent to the governor's desk. Zamkus reported on the General Assembly passing a bill that shortchanged state spending on public schools by $190 million. As promised at the beginning of the year, spending on education remained flat at $4.3 billion. Almost 2 weeks after the board's conversation, Governor Mike Kehoe vetoed almost $53 million and restricted about $441 million from the budget. Yet he kept the $60 million for private school vouchers intact, one of few large additions to the budget, according to reporting from the Missouri Independent. That shortfall in funding turned out to be a tool for protecting public schools from bills that would have placed extra cost on them. Referencing a team of senators involved with passing a 2024 education reform package, Zamkus said a coalition was formed. Members of that coalition opposed such unfunded mandates, and Senator Lincoln Ho was key in that opposition, Zamka said. He was the champion who would stand up and offer an amendment, Zamka said. If we're going to make school districts do this, it's going into effect only if we fully fund education. That amendment went on countless bills in the Senate. They all died. Brunner and board member Danielle Kincaid both credited board member Miriam Mohammed Khani for first sounding an alarm 2 years ago about getting more involved in state advocacy. She also said in 2024, they sought to have SPS endorse a bill that would remove the state's assessment system and let districts pursue alternatives. We're always on the defensive at every legislative session, holding our breath to see how bad the damages will be. This time, the damages are going to be substantial because the school choice train is here. It is barreling through. Since then, the board and district have slowly been more involved in ensuring lawmakers hear from the state's largest public school district. SPS has hosted visits from lawmakers, invited them as guests to speak about bills, and made more trips to Jefferson City. The board has also held retreat meetings to plan its legislative agenda. The district last year also hosted officials from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, including the State Board of Education. Zamkas has worked as the district's lobbyist for 5 years. Kincaid and board member Sarah Howe both asked Zamkas for future advice about how the board can increase its messaging. If you can help us help you tell our story, which is also the story of a lot of the public schools around the area, Kincaid said, I'm happy that Representative Bill Owen has decided to come down here and visit with us, and I would encourage other elected officials to please take us up on that offer as well. Representative Owen has been tabbed as the House's next chair of the Budget Committee, pending his re-election in November. Future looks challenging for schools. Zamkas advised the board that financial challenges from this session will be multiplied next year because Missouri's fiscal affairs are not in a good state. A surplus of almost $2.9 billion will be winnowed down to about $200 million, which is obviously going to put a lot of priorities in peril, Zamka said. We have a significant portion of the House and Senate that are termed out, so these elections could have significant consequences and can really shape how K-12 public policy and finance are decided. Not only is state funding in question for next year, Zamka said, but legislators have no appetite for reducing property taxes across the state, even though these taxes were approved by voters who lived within the district. As part of the rush to fill seats erased by term limits, new candidates make the idea part of their campaigns. I think there's still an insatiable urge to reform property taxes, which, while that's not foundation formula money from the state, it's your local effort, Zamka said. Most people that I'm talking to are campaigning on cutting property taxes, which is direct revenue for public schools and other needed local services. Later this year, a committee will make its recommendation to Kehoe for altering the foundation formula. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has complied with an executive order to move the state forward as an A through F scale for accrediting school districts. An overhaul of the state board composition and leadership also raises questions about the direction of public schools, and voters in August will decide whether to cut state income taxes, leaving future state revenue in question. Zamkas thanked the board for increasing its visibility, saying that it has helped elected officials learn about how SPS is working to be a model for public education in the state of Missouri. But he advocated for even more attention going forward. As you receive physical note requests on legislation, take them seriously. That's part of the reason we were as successful in stopping unfunded mandates as we were this year. Show the real impact that it's going to have on your district, how much it's going to cost you. That's tremendously impactful at the legislative level.
Backyard Naturalist. The GLADE program promotes a lifelong love of learning and the outdoors. A week-long summer camp inspires the next generation of naturalists. This is the opinion. A bearded man that pushed a bushed hat pulled low over his eyes sits at a table in a gravel parking lot. Kids crowd around him, leaning in, watching him probe a black and yellow insect with the tweezers. The man is Doug Helmers, a board member from the Missouri's Prairie Foundation, and he's sitting in a remnant prairie in a small parcel of land representative of the landscape that once covered most of the western and northern Missouri, 15 million acres in all. Today, less than one half of the 1% of these original prairie lands remain. Helmer knows a lot about the prairies and the plants and the wildlife they contain. He and his wife Amanda are restoring 65 acres of prairie on their land in Chariton County in north central Missouri. Doug is also an expert on bees. He has a specimen on the table in front of him, his head bent forward, examining the insects for identification. What is it he's looking at? I whisper to a nearby student. Michaela Henderson. We found 3 American bees, she says excitedly. They have been petitioned to be on the endangered species list. Endangered species list. This is great. We will do what information? I ask. Well, we need to know what level of conservation is needed to protect them. I arrived at the prairie with the photographer, Jim Wilson, about 30 minutes earlier, pulling into the tiny parking lot between Carver Prairie to the north and Diamond Grove Prairie to the south, 60 miles southwest of Springfield. There were 2 stretch vans and a pickup in the lot, so we knew that Glade students must be nearby, but we saw no one. Like the vastness of the open sea, the rolling prairie can swallow up people. As we watched for the students, we are surrounded by the sea of grasses, hip high and watered green, with the patches of yellow sneezeweed, purple poppy mallows, and white flowered obedient plants swaying in the breeze. Finally, we spot people walking toward us over a low rise of advancing southward across the Carver Prairie, laughing and talking. A tall, thin young man comes up with it and extends his hand. It is Kendall Slaughter, assistant director of Glade. He looks to only be in his 20s, and he knows we're here to get the story of Glade. So what's going on out here? I asked him. We're getting the kids out in nature, he explains. This experimental place-based learning. The kids are studying prairies today, but they get a variety of other experiences, something different every day. Water quality monitoring, mass convertebrates, bird banding, fire management, but they're also developing leadership skills. The acronym GLADE stands for Green Leader Academy and for Diverse Ecosystems, Greater Ozarks. A Durban study members of Greg Swick and Lisa Berger came up with this idea over 25 years ago, imagining the intensive, hands-on, week-long summer science camp for budding young naturalists. They applied for and received a grant from Toyota to kick-start the program. Glade is available for any teenager in Missouri. The rest of the group catches up to Slater in front of a young man, Louis Mendel, grinning from ear to ear. Close behind him is Ann Wallenmeyer, director of Glade, eyes shaded under a floppy hat. Tell them what you told me, Wallenmeyer says, turning to Mendenhall. He grins even more. I think there'd be a lot more environmentalists of if people just got to do more of this once in their lives. After learning more about Glade and now excited students get how excited students get about it, I suspect he's right. This is Wallenmeyer's first summer at Glade. She served at the K through 12 science curriculum coordinator for Springfield Public Schools for 20 years before retiring in 2024. And before that, taught biology at Parkview High School for 9 years. She took a job at Glade, she says, because it seemed like the curriculum of a perfect career, combining two things she was very passionate about: teaching and science. She relished the thought of getting kids out in nature to stimulate their natural science and curiosity. She grew up in Illinois near Quincy. She could see the Mississippi River out her window, a self-styled river rat. She was always fishing and poking around on the riverbanks, collecting driftwood, picking up mussel shells with rounded punch holes and artifacts from the now defunct mother of pearl button business. She loved spending time at her grandparents' farm, drinking milk fresh from the cows, playing with barn cats, gathering eggs from the hen house. Her love of nature has stayed with her. As science curriculum coordinator, she's involved in the district elementary classes in Nature Unleashed, a Missouri Department of Conservation program, helping students understand habit and food chain concepts. Later, she helped develop the SPS, Wonders of the Ozarks Learning Facility, WOLF, school providing fifth graders with the interactive grade level curriculum taught through the lens of conservation. By the time she joined Glade, Wallenmeyer had already seen how hands-on outdoor programs like these get certain kids super passionate about the environment. Many kids don't get that excited about sports or band, she says. They don't have a place to plug in. But when they get plugged into nature, they just blossom. They find their voice. They start talking and sharing. The love of being experts at something. Glade offers much more than a basic education. Conservation professionals join the students and lead field trips and discussions. Students benefit from this added enterprise, learning how to conduct field studies, generating accurate and useful data. Time spent with professionals, also known, shows students what jobs in the field are like and gives them the confidence that they can do the jobs themselves. There is a grassroots dimension, an earthly feel to Glade. Students are out on the landscape, rolling up their sleeves, getting sweaty and dirty, gathering real data. This is the way. Emotionally connect to nature and to Glade. Wallenmeyer explains, this is not a play acting. Students get engaged in all their senses, not just listen to someone talking. Students only remember about 10% of what they've heard in the classroom. But if you get them outside and show them something, they will remember much more, maybe 85 to 90%. Because Glade is rewarding experience, many graduates, such as Jackson Bird, on this trip come back with successive years to help out. The Glade experience also looks good on a resume. Many, if not graduates, go on to find work in a related field. For example, Glade graduate Haley Smith is now a conservation manager for Ozark Land Trust. And Brooke Wedmeyer is an educational outreach manager for James River Basin Partnership. Because of its proven success, Glade promoted and supported by many organizations and agencies in addition to the Audubon, like Missouri's Department of Conservation and Prairie Foundation, Conservation Federation of Missouri Master Naturalists. Because Glade's success is now widely known, Wallenmeyer has a lot of teachers and former students waiting to help out. She has just to figure out how to assimilate these eager volunteers in a way that supports Glade's tired and true means of and methods. Upon graduation, Glade students are not left to fend for themselves. Instead, they are absorbed into an expansive network of formal and non-formal educators and conservation professionals, people that get advice from and to help find new jobs. Glade graduates are also eligible for a $500 grant from the Audubon to help them design conservation projects of their own. Beyond Glade, young people have other opportunities for training. 15 to 22-year-olds can apply for the Conservation Leadership Corps, a conservation federalization Missouri program. Corps members can prepare resolutions for federation and a step in learning how legislation works. Justine Lyons, a former director of Glade, calls this seamless support network for students transitioning from high school to college to a meaningful work for a pipeline for producing conservation professionals. With their prairie trek over, students pulls their backpacks and stow them in vans along with nets, binoculars, and other gear. They are hot, sweaty, drinking deeply from water bottles as they chat amongst themselves in knots of threes or fours. Soon they board the vans, pulling away on the blacktop road toward camp. Childish dress, a former Boy Scout camp, serving as their base of operations for this summer session. Conversations in the van are no doubt continuing, probably boisterously. The students are excited to be among eager, like-minded young people who share passion for nature. Over the week of camaraderie, they are also performing strong bonds with each other, often lifelong friendships that will never fade, no matter how far their brilliant young minds scatter or to the wind like fairy airborne seeds over the prairie. The story is by Lauren Bullard.
From the Springfield Business Journal, Republic School Board accepts resignation and elects officers. The Republic School District Board of Education met early July 3rd to unanimously accept the resignation of its president. Terry McConnell, who started a second term in April, resigned in late June, citing personal matters, according to the district. He stepped down less than a week after being charged with misdemeanor domestic assault, which allegedly involved brandishing a weapon and repeatedly shoving a woman. In a July 3rd email to Republic employees and families, the district said the board will discuss how to fill McConnell's seat at a future time. The board has the option of appointing a Republic resident to fill McConnell's spot until the April 2027 election. If the board decides to make an appointment, it may request applications or ask a former board candidate or member to serve. At the July 3rd meeting, the board voted 6-0 to elect Lauren Lehman, who has been vice president, as the president. Todd Wojciechowski, in his fourth term, was elected vice president. Lehman, first elected in 2023, is in her second term. She and husband Nick are part owners of her family's business, Smart Insurance Agency, in Marionville. The couple are also co-directors of Drive Out Hunger, a charity golf tournament that provides funding to a backpack food program operated by Republic's Care to Learn chapter. Wojciechowski is executive vice president and lending officer at People's Community Bank. He is also past president of the Republic Area Chamber of Commerce. Other officer positions were unchanged. The next board meeting is July 20th.
Audit questions travel costs for former Missouri Governor Mike Parson. Former Governor Mike Parson's office spent $375,000 flying him around on state aircraft without keeping flight records, showing why. For a third of those flights, auditors could not identify any state business purpose. The finding anchors that closeout audit of the governor's office, released Thursday, June 2nd, by the state auditor Scott Fitzpatrick, which gave the office a fair rating, the second lowest on the auditor's 4-point scale, and faulted Parsons and administration for improper payments to top staff. Records that had vanished when he left office, the nearly $500,000 in other agencies' expenses quietly shifted onto the governor's books. For Parsons, who spent much of his 6.5 years in office fending off questions about his travel habits, the audit lands as an official coda to a familiar controversy. The governor, whose air travel had already drawn years of scrutiny and paper trail that has rarely explained what public business he was conducting or why taxpayers were paying for it. Parson, in a written response included in the report, strongly disagreed with what he called so-calling findings, saying none of the issues cited constitute unethical conduct and reflect differences in interpretations or precipitations of wrongdoing. The audit covered 174 trips Parsons took on state aircraft, primarily during the final 18 months of his term. For every one of them, flight records listed only a generic purpose, typically flights for Governor Parsons. Because of the governor's never archived Parsons' official calendar, and his press releases were removed from the state website when his term ended. Auditors were forced to reconstruct his itinerary using the Wayback Machine, the Internet Archive. Even then, they could not identify state business purposes for 58 of the 175 flights. 53 trips, 30%, including a stop in Bolivar, where Parson lives. 8 of those flights were to Bolivar and nowhere else. Parsons told auditors he stopped there for personal business, so auditors excluded the Bolivar legs from their analysis entirely. The audit also flagged 16 flights Parsons took around the state in 2024 for trips he included signing events and for no turning back. His commemorative biography on most of these trips, Parsons also conducted other business, but one flight to Marceline, home of the book's publisher, had no purpose other than kicking off the book tour, according to the governor's own media advisory. The flight cost taxpayers $1,386. And in December on 2023, a flight to Arlington, Texas, where Parsons watched the University of Mississippi play in a Cotton Bowl, carried to the spouses of his chief of staff and deputy chief of staff a violation of state policy, which bars everyone but the state employees, officials, and the first family from state aircraft. Auditors noted the same travel documentation failures had appeared in the previous 4 audits of this office. A familiar controversy. The findings fit a pattern pattern that has trailed Parsons for nearly an entire tenure. Within the first 2 years of his office, St. Joseph News Press documented 130 trips on state-owned Beechcraft King Air 250, including 20 to Bolivar. When the state aircraft wouldn't do, Parsons turned to private planes supplied by donors and paid for by the Uniting Missouri and the Political Action Committee formed to support his 2020 campaign. In December 2019, Parsons flew to Washington, D.C. on a private plane of a risk desulfitane, a nursing home executive who company had paid for $8.3 million to settle federal Medicare fraud investigation, and whose facilities had racked up health and safety citations. DeStefane rode along, joined Parsons at the White House, and had posted photos of the trip on Snapchat. Weeks later, Parsons flew to the Super Bowl in Miami on the plane of an independent businessman. The Democratic official field of ethics complaint arguing the flight amounted to illegal coordination between Parsons and the PAC. The Missouri Ethics Commission dismissed the coordination allegation, but fined Uniting Missouri $2,000 in 2020 for failing to properly report the value of the two flights. The private travel never stopped. In the first 3 months of 2023 alone, Uniting Missouri spent more than $110,000 on private planes, most of it paid to an aviation company connected to the lobbyist and longtime Parsons advisor Steve Tilley, even as Parsons insisted he was done with elected office. The new audit examined only by state-funded travel, but it has identified the same underlying problem that dogged the private flights. No one could say on paper what the public was getting money for, or getting for the money. Besides the aircraft, the auditors questioned lodging bills, including $355 in taxpayers funded hotel costs for Parsons to play in the John Deere Pro-Am golf tournament in East Moline, Illinois. Over the 4th of July holiday in 2023, the office could produce no business justification. Parsons told auditors he played at the request of Missouri John Deere tractor dealership. Auditors also found the state paid $594 for two nights on the lodging in Hawaii for Parsons and the First Lady during the October 23 trip his staff described as a vacation. Parsons personally reimbursed the other 3 nights, saying that the battleship visit and the crew luncheon had justified the charge and appeared reasonable, but was never documented. Payments in violation of state policy. The travel findings were one of them on a longer list. The audits found the office paid $28,058 in compensatory time for 4 of its highest paid employees: the Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, General Counsel, and Legislative Director, who earned between roughly $120,000 and $186,000 a year, in violation of state rule that bars overtime pay for the top level staff except in unusual circumstances. The office kept no timesheets documenting extra hours. Without them, auditors wrote the office cannot demonstrate the payments weren't bonuses, which the Missouri Constitution prohibits for public employees. Auditors also flagged $30,449 in tuition reimbursements to 3 employees that violated office or state policy. That included $18,000 to Parsons, Chief of Staff, for the second master's degree pursued while in office. Policy barred reimbursement for duplicate degrees, with the final $3,000 approved after he had stepped down to part-time work in the administration. Wanting say, when he began repaying the money after resigning his first post, as office policy required, Parsons personally waived the remaining balance after $4,200. The office also used $472,000 of its own proportions to absorb the other agencies' expenses in the fiscal year of 2024. including a bathroom remodel and HVAC replacement and a mahogany door in the Capitol, plus $50,000 toward trade emission bill to the Department of Economic Development. There were no written agreements for this or no documentation explaining the transfers, which auditors said circumvents the appropriation process and the obscure and true costs of running the office. And roughly $210,000 in state paid food flowed through the governor's mansion during the audit period, including about a dozen dinners and luncheons involving the Parsons friend and family, and the auditors said appeared to have no business purpose. Then there are the records that simply just cannot be found. The state law requires Parsons' office to transfer its official records to the state archives when its term ended, and it didn't. Parsons' calendar, office employee manual, and policies, its sunshine law request log and international control internal control of the all missing unlocatable by his former staff, by Governor Mike Kehoe administrations, and by the archives. We have no knowledge, Kehoe's office, in response, signed by the Chief of Staff, Adam Gresham, kept its distance. No one in the policy-making role under Kehoe served during the audit period. Gresham wrote, and we have no knowledge of the fact that discussed in the auditor's report. He added the most findings don't reflect current practice. The office pays no compensatory time, handles travel differently, and maintains a sunshine law log. Parson was less measured. Beyond disputing the findings, he complained that the Department of Administration no longer has access to their records, writing that records that are placed in archive, you exclusively cannot construe or neglect what records you decide to review. Fitzpatrick, whose statewide career began when Parsons appointed him treasurer in 2018, answered the argument directly in the report. The problem, the auditor noted, is that the records were never placed in the archive at all. Parsons' response do not indicate any specific inaccuracies or misinterpretations in the report. Fitzpatrick wrote, the findings are supported by insufficient and inappropriate evidence. This story was first published in Missouri's Independent.com.
Also from the News-Leader, painful stings, forest risk, tied to ant now confirmed in Missouri. A newly confirmed invasive insect in Missouri could bring painful stings and ripple effects for forests and native species. The Asian needle ant has now been identified in the state, posing potential risks to people and ecosystems, according to a community announcement. The species, long established in other parts of the country, has begun drawing more attention as it expands its range. University of Missouri Extension urban entomologist Emily Altoff said that the ant was unfamiliar to many residents, including herself, until she began tracking reports of emerging insect issues. Her interest grew after she reviewed national coverage and started researching the species more closely. Native to parts of East Asia, the invasive ant was first detected in the United States in the 1930s along the East Coast. It has since spread across nearly half the continental United States, often without being noticed. It's very inconspicuous, Altoff said in the announcement, but its impact can be anything but small. The Asian needle ant can deliver a sting that causes significant pain. In uncommon cases, the sting can trigger a severe allergic reaction similar to those associated with bees or wasps. Beyond risk to people, the species can disrupt ecosystems, according to the announcement. The ants compete with native species that play a key role in spreading seeds, potentially altering plant regeneration patterns. The insect's feeding habits may also have unintended consequences. The ants prey on termites, which are essential for breaking down dead wood in forest. Without termite activity, fallen trees and debris can accumulate, increasing available fuel that could contribute to wildfire risk. Altoff began monitoring the ant more closely after it was reported just across Missouri's southern border in Arkansas in fall 2025. She used the community science platform iNaturalist to track potential sightings and work with partners including the USDA, U.S. Forest Service, Missouri Department of Agriculture, and Missouri Department of Conservation to confirm its presence in the state. Her current work focuses on identifying additional locations where the ant may be established and helping residents recognize it. Residents can track down sightings through antmaps.org. Suspected sightings can be reported by sending a photo to the local Missouri University Extension Center or emailing Altoff.
6 road trip destinations that highlight Missouri's place in U.S. history. Less than 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed, Missouri became the 24th state to enter the Union. Since then, its native children and those who chose to settle or visit have made their mark on American history as scientists, soldiers, writers, and leaders. Here are 6 road trip destinations that Missouri's newspaper and the USA Today network have highlighted this year in honor of the USA 250 initiative that marks the nation's 250th birthday. Each location has cultural and historical significance to Americas as a whole. See how the St. Louis Gateway Arch stands tall as America marks its 250th. A monument to America's western expansion, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis offers visitors stunning views and a museum describing the region's history. From the Hoover Dam to Lady Liberty, discover some of the USA Today's most treasured views in America in 2026. The Gateway Arch in St. Louis, which is 630 feet tall and 630 feet wide, is known as the Gateway to the West. On a 191-acre national park, there is an underground museum detailing the history and the architectural marvel of the arch. Guests can also ride up to the top of the arch to look over the St. Louis and Mississippi River. The Gateway Arch is the tallest monument in the U.S. and honors the country's beginnings as well as Thomas Jefferson's vision for the transcontinental nation. Open at 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, except for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. National Park grounds are open from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. The Gateway Arch and the museum are free, but the other expenses, like the tram ride, do charge admission. For more information on the Gateway Arch, visit gatewayarch.com. The National World War I Museum and Memorial, Kansas City. 2 Assyrian Sphinx guard south entrance to the Liberty Memorial at the National World War I Museum and Memorial in Kansas City, Missouri. One faces east toward the battlefield of France and shields its eyes from the horrors of war. The other faces west and shields its eyes from the unknown future. Samantha Foster, Springfield News-Leader. The National World War I Museum and Memorial was established to create a lasting monument to those who served and became a testament to the public's passion for remembering the war that changed their lives and world. The museum was designated as the nation's official World War I museum by Congress in 2004. It opened in 2006. The museum and memorial, located at 2 Memorial Drive in Kansas City, Missouri, hosts more than 1 million visitors annually, according to the website. The museum and memorial are open 7 days a week during the summer. General admission for free for members $19.50 for adults, $15.50 for seniors 65 and older, $15.50 for military veterans and active duty members, $11.50 for children, and 6 to 15 and free for 6 to 15 are free, and children younger than 6. There are additional costs for administration to features exhibits and the Liberty Memorial Tower. For more information, visit theworldwar.org. The Americans Natural Churchill Museum in Fulton. Look inside the Natural Churchill Museum in Fulton, Missouri. Winston Churchill, Iron Curtain speech still resonates today. See how America's National Churchill Museum remembers its historic moment. 80 years ago, Westminster College representative invited Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister, to speak at the college gymnasium. There he gives his schnews for peace and speech, more commonly referred as the Iron Curtain speech, that warned of the impending growth of the USSR and the start of the Cold War, which could last from 1947 to 1991, when the Soviet Union fully dissolved. His speech and the life of Churchill is memorialized at America's National Churchill Museum on Westminster College campus, 501 Westminster Avenue in Fulton, Missouri. The museum is open daily from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., except for Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve and Day, and the New Year's Eve and Day. Tickets are $16 for adult, $13 for seniors, AAA or AARP members, and active military veterans, $9 for ages 12 through 18, and college students. Children 11 and under are free. For more information, visit nationalchurchillmuseum.org. The George Washington Carver National Monument Diamond. The George Washington Carver National Monument at 1546 Carver Road in Diamond, Missouri, is the first National Park Service unit to be dedicated to a Black American and was established after Carver's death in 1943. Carver was known for his work with peanuts, sweet potatoes, and other alternative crops to cotton. Carver was born in a cabin in what was known as a park. Through sticky childhood prevented him from working in the fields. Instead, he cultivated a thirst for knowledge and love of plants during his time exploring in the woods. Guests can view original artifacts or explore the classroom model after George Carver's laboratory in the Tuscany Institute at the Visitor Center, or take a hike on the 1-mile self-guided Carver Trail through the woodlands George Carver explored as a boy. Open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, except for Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, and New Year's Day. No park entrance fee. For more information, you visit nps.gov/GWCA. Laura Ingalls Wilder's home in Mansfield. Laura Ingalls Wilder farmhouse on Rocky Ridge Farm in Mansfield. Construction on the 2-story farmhouse was completed in 1913. Read across Springfield News-Leader. While most Little House on the Prairie fans may associate Laura Ingalls Wilder with Wisconsin or Minnesota, it was the Missouri Ozarks where she wrote her books. Ingalls Wilder, along with her husband and daughter, settled in their Mansfield home at 3060 Highway A in 1894. Now, Rocky Ridge Farm guests can visit the home where Ingalls Wilder started writing her beloved series. Walk the same trails the Wilder family did in a century ago, or see artifacts, handwritten manuscripts, or Pa's fiddle. The museum is open March 1st through November 15th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Saturday, 12:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. For more information, visit lauraingleswilderhome.com. Wilson's Creek National Battlefield Republic. The first battle of the Civil War west of the Mississippi is memorialized as Wilson Creek National Battlefield outside Springfield, Missouri. Missouri did not go untouched by the Civil War, which wrenched the nations apart. In fact, its home was a major to battle and the first site where a Union general was killed in action. Wilson's Creek. The national park is 6424 West Farm Road 182, Republic, Missouri. In 1861, Southern forces camped along the Wilson's Creek were attacked in what was the second major battle of the Civil War and the first major battle of the west of the Mississippi River. General Nathaniel Lyon engaged Missouri State Guardsmen and Corporal Franz Siegel artillery drove Southern cavalry to a farm field. Ultimately, Union forces retreated after suffering heavy casualties and running low on ammunition. In addition to walking paths and trails, the battlefield site also features public programs that depict life during the Civil War, as well as a museum and visitor center. Wilson's Creek Battlefield is accessible for free year-round. The park's grounds are open half an hour before sunrise until a half an hour after sunset. Motorized access to the tour road begins at 8 a.m. daily. The visitor center and museum are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., except for Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day and New Year's Day. For more information, visit nps.gov/WICR. USA 250 Most Treasured Views is a U.S. Today network project exploring places across America with historical and cultural significance, created in celebration by the USA 250 initiative, marking a nation's 250th birthday.
We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store, situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews from Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informative material, please visit our YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education.
Pilot says firework hit Delta plane landing at Chicago airport. A Delta airline pilot reported that their plane was potentially struck by a firework during its descent into Chicago Midway International Airport on July 4th, according to air traffic control, audio, and an airline. A crew of Flight 1076 radioed to the air control tower as they were approaching the runway. They were about 200 feet above ground, according to the audio published to social media. We had just had a firework hit our plane, the flight pilot told air traffic control. We're just hoping it was just a motor motor that went off underneath, but definitely felt a big bang. The controller responded there had been multiple reports on fireworks near the airport, and they had notified Chicago police. The Chicago Police Department said statement that the plane was struck by an unknown object that caused minor paint damage. Delta said in a statement to USA Today that the plane landed without incident and there were no damage was found during inspection by the mechanics. The flight safety landed and taxied to the gate, the statement said. Federal Aviation Administration said the statement to USA Today that it will investigate the incident but deferred to local authorities, Delta, for further information.
DESE advances plan to give Missouri schools A to F report cards. The Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education sent its plan for grading public schools in an A through F scale to Governor Mike Kehoe on Tuesday, fulfilling a directive from his January executive order while warning that the work will come with new costs. The 24-page proposal estimates it will cost $518,000 to create the grade cards and require $715,100 annually for staff and software to maintain them. Most of these costs are not reflected in the department's budget, so the plan anticipates filing a supplemental request to the legislature asking for additional funds. The implementation plan also warns that cuts to the Office of Administration could create significant problems because the office's information technology staff maintain the department's website and data reporting systems. The department warned that the Office of Administration's information technology staff are needed to carry out the plan, but the continued availability of these employees and contractors is in question. The state has spent most of its surplus budget, and the state auditor's office is warning against further deficit spending. Feeling the strain, lawmakers passed a budget that did not include raises for state employees and kept education funding flat despite calls for an additional $190 million in state aid to public schools. June 30th, Kehoe vetoed or froze nearly $500 million from the budget, saying the state faces a massive budget shortfall in coming years. Kehoe is demanding public schools publish the new report cards on their websites no later than September 30th of each year, with scores based largely on standardized test performance. Private schools can opt into the system, but the department currently lacks the infrastructure for capturing data from private schools. Meeting the fall deadline, the department wrote, comes with notable concerns. Significant changes to data capture, validation, and processing are necessary to meet the annual required timeline, the report says. These changes may impact the quality of data used in the grade cards, especially in the initial cycle. The department would have to move up the deadline for schools to administer standardized tests, like the Missouri Assessment Program and end-of-course examinations, by 2 weeks. Schools who routinely test at the end of the testing window may see scores decrease, since teachers are used to 2 more weeks of instruction before giving the test, the report says. The Education Department's data review process would also be compressed. Typically, it reviews data submitted by the schools throughout the summer and allows for a lengthy appeals timeline, but must shorten the amount of time districts have to submit information and correct inaccuracies. While district leaders will have serious concerns related to this abbreviated opportunity for data corrections, it is incumbent upon all parties, including the department, to maintain the schedule so the grade card can be released as required, the department wrote. The plan includes Kehoe's request for new metrics, such as a score to show whether a student is on track to reach proficiency within 3 years. It also adopts his suggestion to increase rigor in the grading scale by raising the thresholds for A through D scores when more than 65% of the schools obtain an A or B. Grades for elementary and middle schools will be scored with 38% based on academic achievement, 33% on student growth using the state's current model, and 29% on growth to proficiency. High schools will be graded with a 28% based on academic achievement, 28% on the state's current growth model, 22% on four-year graduation rates, and 22% will encompass measures that indicate a student is ready for post-secondary education or a career like ACT scores. The system is not yet in effect. Kehoe could request changes, though he does not have the authority to unilaterally decide the new policy, and any plan must be approved by the State Board of Education. Currently, the board is set to review the implementation plan in August. The department is currently undergoing a change in leadership following the retirement of former Commissioner of Education Carla Esslinger in May. Stacy Prius, an educational consultant with history working in the department, is currently at the helm as interim education commissioner. One of her main missions as interim commissioner is to oversee the implementation of the A through F grade cards, the department said in a new release in mid-June. The goal for the A through F school grading framework, Prius said in a statement June 30th, is to provide families and communities with a simple, comparable, and rigorous picture of student performance.
What does it really take to build a home? Most people know what a finished home looks like. A front porch where neighbors gather, a kitchen table where homework gets done, bedrooms filled with laughter, quiet conversations, and a dream for the future. But have you ever stopped to think about everything it takes to get there? Every home begins long before the walls go up. It starts with a prepared site, then concrete lumber, window, doors, roofing, heating and cooling, cabinets, flooring, and countless skilled hands and people. No one builds a home alone. Since 1988, Habitat for Humanity of Springfield has partnered with local families to build, repair, and preserve safe, affordable housing throughout Greene County. And more than 800 homes have been built to renovate because businesses, volunteers, churches, and neighbors decided to be part of something bigger than themselves. That's what the heart of Habitat's first pillar. What you do. What you do. Share what you build best. Every business has something it does well. Roofers protect their homes, concrete companies pour foundations, electricians bring homes to life, HVAC technicians create comfort, cabinet makers build gathering places, landscapers create welcoming yards. Habitat homes are built the same way. Local businesses donate materials, skilled labor, equipment, property, and professional services. Every contribution helps another family move closer to home ownership. Companies across the Ozarks have been doing exactly that for years. Dale's Roofing, Signature HVAC, Wilgus IQ, Discount Dave's Roofing, Roofing, Conco Concrete, Ryan's Lawn, Northside Christian Church, and many others have helped build homes that will serve families for generations. We are donating our time, our labor, but we really want is giving as a hope. Meeting as a homeowner and knowing they'll be under the roof for many years to come. That's something our entire team is proud of being a part of. RUV SW Missouri. What we do in turn building materials into milestones. A truckload of concrete becomes a foundation. A roof becomes a peace of mind during the next storm. Kitchen counters become homework stations. Cabinets fill with groceries. Bedrooms become safe places where children can simply be kids. Every material matters. Every volunteer matters. Every business matters. Together they become a home. 90% of local Habitat partner buyers, home buyers, report an improved outlook on life and becoming a homeowner. The idea of being a homeowner was really intimidating to me at first, but after finishing all the requirements, we feel very well equipped to be homeowners. Chase and Abby Haskett. Habitat families work for their homes so they compete a financial education, invest sweat equity, and purchase their homes with an affordable mortgage. What they gain, a future built to last. The construction ends, life begins. Children grow up, stable neighborhoods. Parents build equity instead of paying rising rent. Families gather around the dinner tables and once imagined but never thought they would own. Faith Walker said it best. I'm a single mom, 2 kids with hardly any help. This wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you. Thank you so much. I love you guys. No one builds a habitat home alone. Every community already has what it needs. What starts the next habitat home? Lumber, land, roofing, HVAC, equipment, cabinets, skilled labor, and someone willing to share what they already have. Every home begins with something. More often, it begins with someone. A Habitat for Humanity Springfield, those individual gifts become stronger than neighborhoods, stable families, and opportunities that last for generations. If it is part of a home, it's part of a solution. Businesses, contractors, suppliers, trade professionals, and property owners often ask how they can become a part of the future Habitat homes. To learn more about constructions, partnerships, and building materials, professional services, land opportunities, contact Mark Murphy, Director of Construction, at 417-763-2130 or Mark Murphy at habitatspringfieldmissouri.org. Check out other stories. There's other stories you can check on: building stability, repairing a home, tool belts and bow tie gala, blueprints to get involved. And I think that's it for this story.
Next, we have a headline: Data Center Controversies in the Spotlight During Missouri Primaries. Bill Cope stood before the Montgomery County Commission earlier this month to urge local officials to reject a 25-year, 70% property tax abatement for a $15 billion, 934-acre Google data center project under construction outside of New Florence. I'm not against the schools or health department or anybody getting more money, Cope said, referring to expected real property tax revenues from the project. I think that's needed. I do. I'm against the abatement part of it because if data center developers are that good, they should come in and we would welcome them, but pay your fair share. Cope's objection captures the tension now pushing data centers into Missouri State House politics. Local officials are approving multi-billion-dollar projects while lawmakers debate whether the state needs rules on transparency, utility costs, water use, and public input before more deals are locked in. Cope told The Independent he lost about 300 acres of his 1,500-acre corn and soybean farming operation in Truxton when the owner of land he was renting to sold to Amazon, which is building a $10 billion data center in New Florence north of the highway. Losing that ground, he said, will drive up fixed costs among the remaining 1,200 acres he farms. The Amazon and Google data centers, part of a 5,000-acre Heart of America industrial megasite, are among at least 5 data centers proposed for a 30-mile stretch along the I-70 corridor west of St. Louis. Other data center projects are under discussion in Liberty, Maryville, Independence, and Joplin. As Missouri's August 4th primary approaches, the promise and peril of data centers have moved from local development meetings into statewide campaign politics. Data centers have become a flashpoint in fights over constitutional amendments and nearly every competitive Republican state Senate primary, with candidates turning local frustration over tax breaks, secrecy, and development pressure into a campaign issue. A television ad set against the backdrop of rows of humming data center servers seeks to convince viewers that Amendment 5 would reverse a 2015 law that created sales and use tax exemptions for data center projects, though the legislature would have to vote separately to undo those tax breaks. Republican State Representative Tricia Burns of Wentzville, who is running in a hotly contested primary for a seat in the Missouri Senate, in June sketched out legislation she plans to file next year to bolster transparency of data center development and require local officials to allow more opportunities for public input. Burns also announced the House Intergovernmental Affairs Committee will convene September 16th to discuss data centers. And in a recent letter to Mike Kehoe, 16 Missouri lawmakers asked for a special session of the General Assembly to address growing concerns surrounding the development of large-scale data centers and the impact these facilities may have on Missouri communities. The lawmakers were led by another Republican representative who's running in a crowded GOP primary for Missouri Senate, Don Mayhew of Crocker. They argued data center development is moving too quickly for lawmakers to wait until the General Assembly reconvenes in January. The rapid emergence of large-scale data centers and artificial intelligence technologies is creating challenges that existing laws were never designed to address, their letter reads. Missouri should not wait until irreversible decisions are made before determining whether adequate protections exist for its citizens. Burns said her planned bill isn't finalized, but her priorities include mandated public comment periods for large-scale data center projects and restrictions on non-disclosure agreements preventing local officials from seeking expert opinions on proposals. When you're given an NDA, you start to become fearful if you can ask experts questions you might have. And I want to stop that from happening, said Burns, who served as a Wentzville alderman before being elected to the House and is running to represent the district, including 2 Montgomery County data centers. Mayhew, an engineer and former Pulaski County surveyor, posed with a piece of surveying equipment in a video on his campaign's Facebook page, where he said rapid development of artificial intelligence has created a technological dilemma with data centers. Too many times the legislature is 5 years behind on legislation, and we need to get ahead of it this time, Mayhew said. As lawmakers weigh in on the data centers, questions remain about the role of the legislature in putting up guardrails around decisions that typically fall to local officials. Legislation last session, aiming to shield residents from bearing the cost of data centers' electricity and water consumption, did not get a committee vote. Sponsored by Republican State Representatives Colin Wellenkamp of St. Charles and Mark Koslow of Dardenne Prairie, the legislation sought to expand on a 2025 law requiring the state's investor-owned electric utilities, Ameren, Energy, and Liberty, to develop higher rate schedules for large load electricity consumers like data centers. Koslow and Wellenkamp's bills would have extended that requirement to municipally owned utilities and electric co-ops, mandating a separate rate schedule for customers expected to have an annual peak demand of 50 megawatts or more. The bills propose similar measures for water use. Consumers using more than 2 million gallons of fresh water per day, or 80% of local water capacity, would have to pay higher rates and get a permit from the Department of Natural Resources. The department would then have had to notify county commissioners within 30 days of receiving the permit application and hold a 30-day public comment period. Koslow told The Independent that the department's role would be to act as the objective arbiter to ensure that we are getting correct information and that from the locals, when they're considering these projects, get accurate information. He cautioned against state lawmakers compelling additional disclosure during discussions between developers and local officials. While the state should tackle issues of grid integrity and protecting natural resources, we want local communities to really get engaged. That includes residents voting in April elections, as well as local officials communicating with their constituents. The real concern that residents have is that their elected officials walk in on day one of the public notice, and they already know how they're going to vote, and they don't listen to the people that are talking. That's the real big problem, and additional time for public comment is not going to fix that trust. The goal of the legislation, Wellenkamp told The Independent, is to empower communities to be able to make a more informed decision for themselves. If they want to host a data center or AI infrastructure, and if they do, what controls and demands do they have on these companies? Community engagement and decommissioning requirements for the developers to properly dispose of outdated facilities or equipment are issues that state lawmakers may need to consider in the future, Wellenkamp said. Last week, hours after Burns' press conference in Wentzville, Montgomery County residents gathered as the Missouri Rural Crisis Center announced the results of a county-wide survey of voters about the data centers in New Florence. Nearly 85% of the 1,461 people who returned surveys said they opposed the development, while 11% expressed support and the remainder said they were undecided. The event took place outside Montgomery County Middle School in Montgomery City, where Amazon was holding a barbecue dinner and public information center about its data center in New Florence. Tom Westhoff, a retired conservation agent for Montgomery County who spoke at the event, described the potential environmental threats of data center development. He also told those gathered that the public information session came too late. An informational meeting at this time, when all the contracts have been signed and construction is already underway, is almost pointless, Westhoff said. Why are we not given the opportunity months ago to talk to the Amazon people?
This story is by Steve Pokin. Answer Man. Is Springfield Bass Pro Shop the flagship, the company's largest store? Answer Man. The Springfield Bass Pro Shop store is the first and is still the largest in terms of square feet. Jack McGee, newsroom colleague, Springfield. Well, it's definitely a two-horse race between the Memphis and Springfield. Bass Pro Shop has 129 stores in the United States and 16 in Canada. According to Visit Springfield, it's Springfield with almost 500,000 square feet. I think there's a bit of hometown bias in that declaration. If you Google that question, the answer is Memphis. It looks like to me that Memphis is the correct answer. Astute readers will notice I use the phrase, it looks like. That's because your question, Jack, gets complicated when you consider the fact that Bass Pro Shops occasionally come with an interior attached with amenities such as hotels or, in the case Springfield, the Wonders of Wildlife National Museum and Aquarium. These extra amenities often are added to the overall square footage of the store without a separate number for the actual retail store footage of the store. Although it is possible for me to use the Greene County Assessor website to pull out the retail commercial space for the Bass Pro here, I was unable to use Shelby County Assessor website to determine the space for a 103-room hotel within the pyramid of the above Bass Pro Shops Memphis. When I called the Shelby County Assessor office, I could never get beyond the recorded message that our representatives were servicing other customers. I stayed on the line for 20 minutes and gave up. Of course, I figured Bass Pro Shops would know which one of its stores is the largest. I tried the only way I knew how reaching Bass Pro. I sent an email to press@basspro.com and did not receive any response. Bass Pro Shops at the Pyramid, Memphis, 535,000 square feet. I do not know how much of the square space, if any, is actually hotel space for the 103-room Big Cypress Lodge. The 32-story building opened in 1991. The first concert there was in November of that year. The Judds played and there was a sewage backup caused by flooding. Over the years, like the likes of Bob Seger, the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, and Elton John performed in the pyramid. On June 28th, 2002, Lennox Lewis knocked out the heavyweight champ like Mike Tyson in the 8th round in the pyramid. The NBA's Grizzlies moved from Vancouver, British Columbia to Memphis for the 2001-2002 season and played in the pyramid three seasons and left for a new stadium on the Beale Street in 2004. The structure was mostly vacant for 11 years during its hibernation, was called the Tomb of Doom. It reopened as Bass Pro Shop in April of 2015. On March 26, 2015, Astoria, Memphis Commercial Appeal states that the store will have 535,000 square feet for retail floor space. A year later, the paper stated something different. The company has declined to clarify exactly how many square feet of the 535,000 square foot building are considered retail space, but the numbers for 220,000 to 300,000 square feet have been cited. The Memphis Bass Pro Store has 2 stories and includes a 13-lane fishbowl bowling alley, an archery range, and a pistol range. Bass Pro Shops in Springfield, Missouri, 301,564 square feet from Greene County Assessor. This does not include 38,739 square feet from the museum and the aquarium. Bass Pro Shop, founded in Springfield on Johnny Morris in 1972, the company moved to its current location on South Campbell Avenue in 1980. According to Springfield Ledger, the Press, it had purchased a Handy Dan shopping center. The firm has bought the building housing Handy Dan Do-It-Yourself Home Center, Carpet Factory, and Toy O, and will occupy the entire 70,000 square feet of the newspaper reported. The newspaper reported. For you and Springfield historians, the Gibson Discount Center became the Howard Discount Center and then the Handy Dan Shopping Center. The building you see today opened in 1985. July of 1995, 1995, the Springfield News-Leader states that the electrical fire damaged 25,000 square feet of the 150,000 square foot store. 3 other big Bass Pro Shops. Bass Pro Shops in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 225,000 square feet. The store opened in a shopping mall in November 2004. When it opened. It had a stocked trout stream just outside the mall's entrance, a 40-foot rock climbing wall, a 60,000-gallon aquarium, and a waterfall inside the store. Bass Pro Shops in Grapevine, Texas, 197,000 square feet. The store opened in March 1999, according to the story in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, in which the reporter also interviewed Morris and visited Springfield. The Grapevine store is connected to an Embassy Suites hotel that was built by Springfield developer John Q. Hammonds. Bass Pro Shops in Rancho Cucamonga, California, 480,000 square feet. The store opened in July 2007. 4D development for Los Angeles, bought by Bass Pro Shop Pro building in Rancho Cucamonga in March for $32.26 million. Bass Pro Shops continue to operate at the location. This is by Answerman by Steve Pokin.
Missouri State University names new economic development leaders. Missouri State University has named new leaders for 2 major economic development groups following a longtime administrator's retirement. The changes took effect July 1st, according to a community announcement. Rachel Munday is now Assistant Vice President for Economic Development, while Matt Curry will take on the role of Executive Director of the Roy Blunt Jordan Valley Innovation Center. The appointments come after the retirement of Alan Kunkel, who directed the university's economic development efforts since 2007. The leadership changes are intended to support continued work in innovation, entrepreneurship, research partnerships, and economic growth, according to the announcement. In the newly created Assistant Vice President role, Munday will oversee strategy for economic development initiatives and partnerships that connect businesses, communities, researchers, and students. The position also includes responsibility for programs designed to support innovation and regional collaboration. Munday previously served as Executive Director of eFactory, the university's business incubator and entrepreneurship center. Since joining eFactory in 2015, Munday has helped expand its reach across Southwest Missouri and to other parts of the state. The organization has enhanced support for entrepreneurs, developed workforce programs, and strengthened partnerships with industry and the university while serving thousands of participants. Rachel has demonstrated exceptional leadership, vision, and a deep commitment to Missouri State University's public affairs mission, said Brad Bodenhausen, Vice President for Community and Global Partnerships. Her ability to build partnerships and create meaningful impact across communities makes her the ideal person to lead our economic development efforts into the future. Curry, who has been with the university since 2001, will move into the executive director role at Roy Blunt Jordan Valley Innovation Center after serving as assistant director. With more than 2 decades of experience supporting operations, research partnerships, and commercialization initiatives, Curry will oversee the center's strategic direction and daily functions while continuing to build collaboration between academic researchers and industry partners. Matt's leadership, technical expertise, and commitment to innovation have been instrumental to JVIC's success, Bodenhausen said in the announcement. He understands the unique role JVIC plays in connecting research, industry, and economic development, and I am confident he will continue building on the center's strong reputation and impact. Kunkel's retirement marks the end of a long period of leadership within Missouri State's economic development efforts. During that time, he helped establish and grow both eFactory and the Innovation Center into nationally recognized assets supporting business development, research, commercialization, and workforce initiatives throughout the region. The new leadership team will continue efforts to expand economic development and community engagement programs while building on that foundation, according to the announcement.
Missouri Sports Hall of Fame Museum set to reopen August in downtown Springfield location. After being closed for nearly 5 years, the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame announced Thursday, July 2nd, that its museum is reopening at its new downtown Springfield location on August 12th. The MSHOF, which has been located in southeast Springfield off of Highway 16 near the Highland Springs Country Club entry gate since 1994, is now headquartered at 431 West Walnut Street. It closed in 2021 for renovations before financial difficulties led to an eventual relocation into 2025. The nonprofit museum and foundation has been decided to honoring athletes, coaches, teams, and contributors in Missouri athletic history with a series of exhibits and historical markers. Its new smaller location at the MSHOF said it's intentionally designed to deliver a deeper, more personal connection to the stories and achievements and individuals who have shaped the state's sports history. This moment represents resilience, said Rob Marsh, president of CEO, the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, the new release. There were challenges, there were uncertainties, but there were never a moment where we lost sight of the mission. The museum is a reflection of that commitment to preserve these stories and to ensure they continue to inspire future generations. This is an important step forward for the Hall of Fame, Dan Nelson, chairman of the board, said in his news release. We are proud to see the museum return in a way that strengthens our connection to the community while honoring the legacy that has made the organization so meaningful in so many ways. The museum will be open weekdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
In Steve Pokin's Pokin' Around column, he states a group wants to plant world's tallest flagpole in southwest Missouri to unite a divided nation. Size matters, but that's not the point, says Nathaniel Toms, 47. Toms wants to construct the world's tallest flagpole right here in southwest Missouri. Where in southwest Missouri? He won't say. The property hasn't been purchased yet. It will be 700 feet tall with a large U.S. flag on top, visible from 30 miles away. Hammond's Tower is 268 feet tall. The tallest flagpole in the USA is in Sheboygan, Wisconsin at 390 feet. At the top of the Wikipedia list of the world's tallest flagpoles is the one in Cairo, Egypt at 663 feet. NBA fans can think of it this way. 700 feet is the same height as 95 Victor Wembanyama's, who is 7'4", standing on top of one another. It's enormous, Thomas tell me. Maybe you know Tom's. For 18 years, he's operated the Mr. Electric franchise here in Springfield. It provides residential electrician services. But it's not about the height, although the height always draws people. Our focus is that our nation comes together and unites, and we can unite nonpartisan under one flag. According to the group's website, turn on the news for 10 minutes and you might conclude that Americans agree on nothing. But spend an afternoon in a small town parade, a Friday night football game, or a veteran's funeral, and you'll see a different country entirely, one where neighbors still stand, hats off, as the flag passes by. Phase 1 is putting the flagpole in place. It will be funded in large part by people buying bricks with their names on them. The bricks are $250. The nation is celebrating its 250th birthday. The bricks will be placed around the flagpole. The flagpole will need to be planted in a mound for engineering and support reasons. The architect for the project is the Buxton Cubic Dodd Design Collective in Springfield. Phase 2, Tom says, will be for a museum near the flagpole. It will focus on the history of the United States flag. The website refers to it as a community center. Phase 2 will be funded by major donors. The site will need parking space. There's going to be times when there will be thousands of people around the flagpole for events, for educational groups, for veterans to come together, Tom says. I want this to be a place where people can roll in and just spend time. I want it to be a peaceful place with an atmosphere of reflection where we honor veterans. It's not about building the world's tallest flagpole, he says. It's about building a place where Americans remember that which unites them. Tom's is hesitant to answer when I ask how much money has already been raised. That's because the organization is still in the process of acquiring nonprofit status. Such status makes contributions tax deductible. If all goes well, when will there be a large flag atop a 700-foot flagpole somewhere in southwest Missouri? I'm hoping that it will be finished in 2 years, Tom says, if not a year and a half. If I had a wand to wave, it would be finished in a year. I call time out. My reporter's mindset kicks in. I need to review with him the essential elements of this story pitch. I don't know where the world's largest flagpole will be replaced. I don't know how much money has been raised. You haven't been approved as a nonprofit yet. It might be 2 years before we can all hold hands in unity as we gaze up at the stars and stripes. I point out to him, you're asking me to write a story now about something that might not happen in the future. It's going to happen, he says. What the heck am I going to do? What the heck? I'm not going to be around if it doesn't happen. I'm retiring October 30th. So if there's no 700-foot flagpole in the summer of 2028, please contact Daily Citizen Managing Editor Harrison Keegan and ask for a retraction of this story. In an email to Springfield Daily Citizen, Toms wrote, "We are planning a soft announcement on July 4th, followed by a full announcement on July 10th. He tells me there first will be a whisper campaign that starts on the 4th of July about the world's largest flagpole. And then on the evening of Friday, July 10th, there will be a full launch at the Ozark Mountain Sports Complex. There's nothing grander than to start something like this in a baseball stadium, you know. Baseball and America go together. We'll have a full stadium at the Ozark Mountain Sports Complex. There's going to be a fireworks show after. I ask how big the flag will be. After all, it better be plenty big if it's going to be 700 feet up in the clouds. It'll be 180 to 200 feet wide. The height of the flag will be in proper proportion. And why are you, Nathaniel Toms, also known as Mr. Electric, the right man for this patriotic mission? My father was in the Navy. My grandfather, Charles Levi Toms, was at Pearl Harbor. And my great-grandfather was in World War I and World War II.
Springfield soccer fans reveal in USA's World Cup knockout round win over Bosnia and Herzegovina. Mumbles now 1888 has been hosting a large watch parties on Commercial Street as the United States advances in the World Cup. For Springfield soccer fans, Mumbles 1888 was the place to be on Wednesday night. Commercial Street's new soccer pub hosted a large watch party as the United States men's national team defeated Bosnia and Herzegovina at 2-1 in a round of 32 World Cup match. USA will now face Belgium on Monday, July 6th at 7 p.m. Mumbles will host another watch party with help from other C Street businesses. Dave Berlinski celebrates the United States men's national soccer team winning their knockout round game with his daughters Avril and Riley. It's a photo of him and his daughters. The Springfield Brewing Company opened Mumbles 1888, located at 504 East Commercial Street, in early February. A few months later, business is booming as fans from teams across the country have been stopping in to gather and cheer on their teams in the World Cup. Fans watching at Mumbles on Wednesday night, they say they enjoyed the atmosphere and they shared the experience of watching the game together. "I love Mumbles," Kate Gilbert said during the Wednesday's match. "It's a great positive vibe." Several businesses on Commercial Street pitched in to help Mumbles by turning the World Cup watch party into a block party. The Rathbone Ace hardware store next door to Mumbles has allowed the pub to rent its fenced-in space with a roof covering as a separate viewing area for the World Cup games. The Springfield Yellow Cab Company, located behind Mumbles, has also helped the block party by providing chairs and extra parking for World Cup games. Tony Emilio, a manager at the Springfield Yellow Cabs Company, when asked about the helpful nature of his business on Historic Street, said, "It really brightens up Springfield." The story was by Adam Walker.
From Christian County, former clever police chief sentenced to probation in domestic assault case. Former Clever Police Chief Michael Evans has been fined and sentenced to 2 years of probation after pleading guilty to a misdemeanor charge of domestic assault. The Greene County Prosecutor's Office initially charged Evans with second-degree domestic assault, a Class D felony, in November 2024 before reducing the charge in April. I think certainly at the request of the victim in the case, and then all the things Mr. Evans did while out on pretrial release, that the state amended their initial charges, said Tad Moreland, Evans's attorney. The incident of domestic violence took place at Greene County residence on November 7, 2024. Evans punched the victim at least twice in the head after a verbal argument, according to a probable cause statement. He left the scene in a Clever Police Department vehicle in which he disabled the location services, the document states. Moreland stated that Evans was remorseful and took action, including counseling, while on pretrial release. He also took responsibility, and certainly the family and the state and judge took all those into consideration, Moreland said. Evans paid the Greene County Circuit Court a fine of $141.50 for the misdemeanor on June 30th, according to publicly available court documents. According to previous reporting from the Daily Citizen, Evans spent 22 years with the Springfield Police Department before leaving in 2021. Evans was replaced in Clever by Police Chief Randy Blackburn, who left the department in June. The city is actively searching for a new police chief.
Massive 10-acre housing development east of Springfield holds grand opening. Homes offer zero entry, 1 and 2 story floor plans, and a price beginning at $500,000 in total. There were about 200 lots in development in both phases of Turner's Ranch. After years of planning, development, and construction, a massive 10-acre housing development just east of Springfield officially sold homes. Turner's Ranch, located in northeast corner of East Sunshine Street and South Farm Road 199 intersection, held a ribbon cutting ceremony as part of its grand opening celebration with the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce on July 1st. The project, constructed by H.C. Rogers Construction Group and marketed by Grady's Real Estate, features 64 homes in Phase 1. Homes offer zero entry, 1 and 2 story floor plans, and pricing beginning at $500,000 and totality. There are 200 lots in development in both phases of Turner's Ranch. The second phase will include amenities like pool, pickleball, and tennis courts, a putting green, a basketball court, and more. Phase 1 will take a couple years and will go to phase 2, said Cade Rogers, owner and principal of H.C. Rogers Construction Group. Phase 2 will have a pool and all the amenities. Get built in Phase 2. There are 11 homes currently under construction. The company expects to have the first 7 homes completed in the next couple of weeks. Rogers said the grand opening celebration at the grand opening. H.C. Rogers is able to provide custom-built homes at the site, Rogers said. We have floor plans so people can come and pick out their floor plan and then pick their finishes. Rogers said the company is also building homes and selling them as is on some of its lots. Rogers declined to disclose the total financial investment for Turner's Ranch, but it said it was a lot. Turner's Ranch joins a growing list of developments on East Sunshine Street after 10 tracts of totaling 175 acres were sold at the auction on September 23rd, 2023, yielding more than $5.5 million, according to the previous Daily Citizen's reporting. Development is taking shape on much of the land that was auctioned almost 3 years ago. This would be about as far east on Sunshine you'll be able to go for a very long time. Rogers said aiding adding just to the east of Turner's Ranch is a large alfalfa field. H.C. Rogers has constructed Turner's Point Villas, a senior housing facility with a 24 single-story restricted independent luxury villas just up the road from Turner's Ranch. The development's name plays homage to the community of Turner and Turner's Station Mercantile in Delhi. Believed to be the oldest continually operated store in the country and designed a Greene County historical site. According to the company's website, the Mercantile, which was established in 1889, sits just down the east of Sunshine Street. The story was by Ryan Collins.
Health Department warns of E. coli risk in Christian County rivers. A dip in the creek may seem like an inviting plan for the weekend, as peak temperatures in Springfield area are expected to hover around 90 degrees. However, swimming or playing in the Finley and James rivers may remain risky after heavy rainfall swept the elevated levels of E. coli into the waterways in June. Tests at several access points along the two rivers demonstrated unsafe levels of the bacteria on June 30th, according to the Christian County Health Department Environmental Public Health Supervisor Jackson Priest, who said that rivers may be safe for swimming again this week. In the meantime, Priest said the water at Bull Creek, Swan Creek, and Busick State Forest is likely safe for activities. No matter what, you're fine to swim at Busick pretty much because the water is so forested. Forested areas see less runoff contributing to E. coli pollution. Local lakes are also a safe bet for swimming on the weekend. All of the swimming beaches at Stockton and Table Rock lakes are open. For information about closures at lakes in the region, visit the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Department of Natural Resources websites.
Great Southern Bank to close 9 branches, cut 66 jobs, and reconstructing. The closures include branches in Springfield, Ozarks, Nixa, and all affected Springfield region branches will close October 1st of 2026. As a part of our organizational restructuring, Great Southern Bank has announced that it will be closing 9 bank centers in Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, and Iowa, according to the company press release Daily Citizen received July 1st. 3 of the branches are in Springfield region, including 1 in Springfield, Ozark, and Nixa. All affected Springfield regions branches will close October 1st, 2026. Affected Springfield region banking centers include 331 South Avenue, Springfield, 1444 West State Highway J, Ozark, 1391 North Main Street in Nixa. Along with the 9 branch closures across the states, the company will eliminate 66 positions across multiple company divisions, according to the press release. The positions will be eliminated on September 30th, unless the branches where the employee works closes earlier. Like all financial institutions, Great Southern Bank regularly evaluates our operations as part of our routine business maintenance. The company said in the press release, on occasion, the evaluations require a recalibration of our products, services, and workforce to match the changing market dynamics. Non-Springfield region affecting branches in 2026 closure dates: 150 South Todd George Parkway, Lee's Summit, Missouri, October 1st. 6173 Telegraph Road, Oakville, Missouri, October 1st. 522 Pinnacle Hills Parkway, Rogers, Arkansas, September 25th. 15315 West 135th Street, St. Oath, Kansas, October 1st. 2805 South Ankeny Boulevard in Ankeny, Iowa, October 1st. 1290 Copper Creek Drive, Pleasant Hill, Iowa, October 1st. The story is by Ryan Collins.
Dine out and help nonprofits during Springfield Restaurant Week. This week in 417 Food News, folks can dine out to support local nonprofits, and a new Thai restaurant opens. Dine out and support local causes with Springfield Restaurant Week. From July 10th to 19th, diners can support local nonprofits by eating at participating restaurants during Springfield Restaurant Week. This is the first year this event is happening. A portion of the sales from special menus will go to Ozarks Food Harvest and the Missouri Restaurant Association Education Foundation. Every meal enjoyed helps strengthen our community while supporting the next generation of hospitality professionals, Springfield Restaurant Weekly said in a Facebook post. From beloved local staples to exciting new dining destinations, this year's participating restaurants represent the very best of Springfield's vibrant culinary scene. Currently, there are 27 restaurants participating in the event, including Mexican Villa, Pasta Express, Nearly Famous, Palm and Paddle Grill, Bambino's, and Grace Kitchen. A new Thai restaurant is opening on Glenstone Avenue. Thai Isan Zap, 2119 South Glenstone Avenue, is now open in the building that formerly housed Wayo Sushi Bar and Grill. The restaurant is open 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 4 to 8:30 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Its menu includes appetizers like fried tofu, tiger cry, and Isan sausage, entrees like pad thai, curry, and mia plai tad, a whole fried red snapper, soups like tom yum, tom kha, and miso soup, as well as sushi rolls and desserts. Fred W. Hubble and Kira Lee Hubble operated Wayo Restaurant for 16 years with the aim of providing, quote, a relaxed, comfortable, affordable place to enjoy freshly prepared meals of the highest quality containing the healthiest national ingredients, unquote. The couple sold the restaurant in April 2026. It had previously reduced its hours to Kira Lee Hubble, who would care for her husband during and following a cancer diagnosis in hospice.
Cliff Smart, USA, has much to celebrate after 250 years. This Saturday, we'll celebrate a 250th birthday for the United States of America. I'll be at Hickory Hills Country Club with Gail and our oldest son and his 6 children. We will eat, play, visit, and with friends and neighbors. Watch fireworks. It's always fun. But July 4th should be more than just fun with friends and family. It's time to celebrate America, particularly this year. I love our country while recognizing it's not and never has been perfect. I served in the United States Army as did my brother and father, and I am a member of the Sons of the American Revolution. I have prospered here and have our children and grandchildren. I think there are things about our history that can set apart from other nations. I'm going to use this column to reflect on the same theme as some of the events and actions that resonate me. It begins with the fact that our ancestors fought for our independence and easing as tension between our occupying British troops and colonists was building the 1760s as a result, as what we known as the Boston Massacre on March 5th, 1770. The accused British soldiers received their fair trial when they were represented by Patriot John Adams, mostly acquitted. They were not lynched or executed by this mob. This was the beginning of the importance of the rule of law.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10, or for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network
The
for
time is 12 p.m.
That's okay. Okay, we got filled up, didn't we?